Hello everyone. Today in this video I'm going to start with the definitions part, that is section 3, and it starts with unless the context otherwise requires. Now what does that mean? This is a statement that needs interpretation. So it means that these sections and these definitions will not apply wherever it is not required, unless the context requires. So wherever it is not required, you can do your own interpretation. It's open to interpretation. Okay, so this is how we are going to look at it. And the first definition is about custom and usages. Okay, both sound similar, but they both have a different meaning. So usage is repetition of a certain act. So if you keep repeating a certain act for a longer period of time, it becomes a usage. And the repetition of such an act takes the form of a law. It takes the form of a rule, and then it becomes custom. Okay, so there are certain criterias under which if a usage goes through that certain characteristics, then it becomes a custom. So first of all, it has to be practiced for a continuous period of time. It has to be practiced uniformly. Okay, it should not be against the public policy. It should not be unreasonable, and it should have taken the force of law, and it becomes part of the religion, and it becomes part of your rituals. Then it takes the customary form. So that is custom. Next we have district court. So district court is the court where we take up the civil matters. In case of civil cases, I'm not going very deeply into it. We have three levels mainly, that is the Supreme Court, High Court and District Court in case of the district areas. Okay, and where in case of the state, wherever there are metropolitan courts, there we have city civil courts. Okay, so there is a differentiation that is given. So whenever we file a petition, so the court that takes up the matter in the original jurisdiction, okay, the court that tries the matter in the original hand, okay, the matter goes firstly into whichever court. In case of districts, we have principal civil court of original jurisdiction. So the case first hand goes to in these courts whenever a civil matter arises, and civil cases are also distinguished based on pecuniary matters, that is monetary matters. So that is the differentiation, and we'll go into it when I'll take up the matter deeply. But for now, I think it's sufficient to understand. And in case of districts, the state government announces that whichever court takes up will have the jurisdiction, and it posts through the official gazette, and then the recognition is given to such courts. Now next we are moving on to the next definition, that is full blood and half blood. Okay, so two persons are called full blood if they have same father and same mother. Okay, so we are forming a relation between two people, and we are calculating that whether they are full blood, half blood or uterine blood. Okay, so first we are taking up full blood. So if two people have same father and same mother, then they are full blood, they have full blood relations. If two people have same father and different mothers, then they are connected by the half blood. Okay, and in the next definition you will see that there's a mention about the uterine blood. So if two people have same mother with different fathers, then they are connected through uterine blood. Okay, and below that an explanation is given for the definitions under subclause C and D, and it states that ancestors, the word ancestor is used for the male ancestor, and ancestress is used for female ancestors. Although in my opinion ancestor is a gender neutral word and it could be used for any gender, but I think the lawmakers have written it just to remove confusion and to make it more clear. Next we are moving on to the sup-in relationship, and clear to you why we are reading sup-in relationships, because in the coming sections you will get to know that sup-in relationships are prohibited. Okay, so how it is calculated, I'm going to give you a small glimpse. Okay, so for the person concerned, say suppose we are calculating subtend relationship for a person S. Okay, so the person S will be considered as the first generation person. Okay, first generation. So first generation, then above him there would be his father, then above that would be father's father, then father's father's father, and then father's 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 father. Okay, so 5 lines in the ascent. Okay, 5 lines in the ascent in the father's generation, in the from the paternal side. Okay, and then and 3 lines in the ascent on the mother's side. So S is the first generation, then second generation would be the mother, third generation would be the mother's mother. Okay, so you will be calculating it for 2 peoples, and in these 2 lines, and regarding both these people, if any of the ancestor within this limit is a common ancestor, then these 2 people fall under subtend relationship. They cannot have a relationship. The relationship is prohibited. And same applied when your mother and father got married. Okay, so from the starting point, your mother would have been the first generation at that point of time, and your father would have been the first generation in his case. Okay, and then we would have calculated 5 lines in the ascent on his father's side and 3 lines of ascent on his mother's side, and same applied to your mother. And since they both didn't have a common ancestor, okay, within that, the marriage was a valid marriage. Okay, because their relationship didn't fall within the subtend relationship. Now if you have heard about it, why do we match gotras? Okay, before we get into marriages in the Hindu customary, because gotras define that okay, you are not coming within that frame of line. Since 2 people have different gotras, they do not fall under any kind of subtend relationship or prohibited relationships, which I am going to tell you henceforth. Okay, so again, so the person we are calculating it for would be the first generation, then 5 generations in the line of ascent. Ascent means going above. Okay, 5 generations above on the side of the paternal side, okay, on the father's side, and 3 generations above in the ascent on the mother's side. Okay, that should not come under the line of a common ancestorship. Okay, that should not come under the there should not be any common ancestor within this limit. Okay, otherwise you fall under a subtend relationship. I hope this makes it clear. So in the definitions part, subclause F, point number 2, it states that 2 persons are said to be subpendas of each other if one is a lineal ascendant of the other. So if you are S and another person is your grandfather, it means father's father, or one person is your father's father's father and again you, or mother's mother and you, all of you, okay, these sets come under subtend relationships. Okay, next we are going to read about prohibited relationships, that is given under subclause G. Okay, you might find some similarities between these 2 definitions, but the lawmakers did it because they didn't want to leave any gap, because Hindu religion is very particular about relationships that should not have a common lineage. So now we are starting with the prohibited relationships. So 2 people come within the degree of prohibited relationships if, point number 1, they are lineal ascendant of that person, that is father, okay, grandfather, that is paternal grandfather, or paternal great grandfather, or mother, maternal grandmother, and so on. Okay, the lineal ascendants. Second point is, it states if one was the wife or husband of a lineal ascendant. So not only the blood relationships, but the husband or wife of that blood relationships. Okay, so if you are calculating the paternal grandfather, that is father and then father's father, so his wife also, that would be a grandmother of such relationship. Okay, and also the son-in-law, daughter-in-law. So say suppose we are calculating for a person S. So his son, okay, his son and his wife, okay, and in case of daughter, her husband, all of them would come under prohibited relationships. Okay, now point number 3, okay, that is very tricky and you need to be very careful. If one was the wife or of the brother, so say suppose it's your father, okay, and he has a brother, so his wife, okay, his wife, that is the sister-in-law of your father, okay, your aunt, or the father's or mother's brother, that is your uncle's, okay, or of the grandfather's or grandmother's brother of the other. So also in the case of grandfather and grandmothers, their brothers, okay, their brothers, they would also come under prohibited relationship. Now point number 4, if the two are brother and sister, two of them are brother and sister, uncle and niece, aunt and nephew, or children of brother and sister of two brothers or of two sisters, okay, also not only brother sister but their children as well, not only aunt but the nephews as well. All of these relationships, okay, which we already calculated in the subpend relationship, okay, they all come under prohibited relationships. They all come under prohibited relationships. And whatever was left, because in subpend relationships we only talk about the blood relationships, but not just that, we also have to include the person they are married to, okay, the children they gave birth to, so all of them are included in the subpend relationships, okay. So there is an explanation also that is given for the clauses F and G. F and G, F is subpend relationship, G is prohibited relationship. Relationship includes relationship by half or uterine blood as well as full blood. So all of these are considered in the similar manner. Even if you are connected by uterine blood, you have same mother but different fathers, you will also come under prohibited relationship. Okay, relationships include all of these relations, half, full, uterine, illegitimate blood relationship as well as legitimate. So even if any of your ancestor, they had an illegitimate child means they had a child without marriage, without a valid marriage, even if that is the case, you will come under that under subclause F and G, okay, subpend relationship, prohibited relationship. Adoption as well as blood. So in the coming sections you will take it down that adoption is also considered as a full blood person, okay, they are not in any manner differentiated. So even if a child is adopted in the family, they are also considered as a part of that whole system, and they are also calculated when we calculate for subclause F and G. And all terms of relationship in those clause shall be construed accordingly. So these 3 points have to be taken into consideration before calculating subpend relationship. So you cannot exclude if somebody is a uterine blood or a half blood, okay, you cannot exclude a person if he was adopted, or you cannot exclude anyone if he was an illegitimate child. All of them are taken up or they are construed in an equal manner, okay. And so that was all for section 3, and very quickly I'm going to give a small glimpse on section 4. So any of the custom or usage before commencement of this act, before this act came into force, if any of that custom or usage and a new law is made in this act, okay, when this law came, so alternatively for that custom or usage a new law has been made and that is mentioned in this act, so this law would prevail and the prior one would cease to have any effect, okay. And secondly, if it is inconsistent with any of the provisions in this act, so any of the custom or usage that was practiced before the commencement of this act, and that is inconsistent with any of the act rules that is given under this act. So any text, rule or interpretation of Hindu law, custom or usage that is given under this act shall have meaning, okay, once the commencement of this act is done. So when this act came into force, 1955. So before that, if any rule or custom that was prevalent and a new law is made and is mentioned in this bare act, then this would have meaning and all the other acts would cease to have any meaning. And if they are inconsistent with the rules or laws that is given under the Hindu Marriage Act, then they would also be ceased to have any meaning, okay, after the commencement of the Hindu Marriage Act. So that would be all for this lecture, and in the next class I would start with the conditions of a valid marriage. So till then, take care and bye bye. If you like my video, please do share, like and subscribe. Okay, bye bye.